Yeah, and it's a great crowd out tonight too. Another nice thing to see tonight. We look
Memorial final in a time of 1:54 and 2.
people, right? Which
nice.
has been a rarity throughout COVID, but now we're able to get back to that. But now let's look at this race for the 38th running of the PEPSI North America.
To King of the North, racing further back.
No surprise, opens off at 2-5 now, up to 1-2.
I mean, it's so hard to go against them. I mean, nobody wants to come on here and pick favorites.
Straight line to Temporal Hanover.
The favorite. It's just so impossible, though, to pick against them. I mean, this is a horse that's done everything that's been asked of him, and really that I can see doesn't really seem to need.
Here from Actonel. Further back we go to.
He can race in front. He can race from off the pace. He can race first over. It just doesn't really seem like there's many weaknesses in Bulldog Hanover's arsenal right now.
And he just loves.
Duly resolved. Who's first over and draw.
Won 10 of his last 11 over this oval. And you think about that, like, obviously we've seen some incredible things this year, but we got to forget that last year, I mean, he was a runaway winner in
fourth and ready to strike.
So, I mean, he's maintained an incredible level throughout the age of 2 and now into 3. And like you said, I've seen this horse do things this year I didn't know really would be possible for a racehorse to do.
Absolutely, yeah. And I was actually lucky because I was there the other day. I got to watch 3 of these horses train at Classy Lane. I got to watch Perfect Sting train. I got to watch Bulldog Hanover train. And I got to watch Which Way to the Beach train. I didn't use Which Way to the Beach in my top 3. And to me, he probably looked like the most impressive trainer out there. So that just goes to show you how sometimes you can't always go by how impressive they look training or how impressive they look in the morning. Perfect Sting, to me, just looked like he was a horse that was just kind of going through the motions, very easy on smell on himself, very, very smart. Bulldog looked there. And, we should be coming into this race with some nice horses.
We see that, on the screen now, we see all the handicappers except for Mike Perbosi on board with Bulldog Hanover to get it done. Mike's going with Perfect Sting. You and I, Randy, though, both went to Desperate Man in the second spot. And I know that, I've had a few doubters, come to me and say, well, they're surprised I'm doing that over Perfect Sting. But I thought that, what he did last time, that back half, I've never seen that before in my life. And I've seen hundreds of thousands of races, 51-3 back half. Have you ever seen that before? Behind us, and we see a big crowd of people.
With the call to the post, they're coming to the track for tonight's 11th race. Our feature, it's the PEPSI North America Cup. And to lead parade number 1 is Jimmy
Cup. And, well, Bulldog Hanover.
Lawrence coming out with the pacing son of Big Jim. Ondan trained by Greg McNair of Guelph. His partners, members of the Grand Slam stable of Walkerton.
And we kind of know that he's going to be the
McNair sending out Jimmy Connor B, who's won 4 of 16 this season. Known for his wicked closing kick here. He's demonstrated it in each of his last 2 starts. 25
any kind of a certain trip
and change in the start prior to that. 5th in last week's elimination. The 1, Jimmy Connor B. Stablemate is number
Loves it here at Mohawk Park, doesn't he? He's
out by caretaker Susie McNair, better son of 3-year-old Sunshine Beach, gelding out of the Better's Delight mare, Better Think Twice. Willow Oak Ranch of Rogersville, Tennessee, shared
yeah, OSS Super Final.
Right.
So
McNair of Guelph, and it's James McDonald aboard, number 2, Better Son, a winner of 3-12 this year. He too was 5th. In last week's elimination round.
Absolutely, yeah. And I was
Trail Parade last. Bulldog Hanover next, the 4. John Malaya, the caretaker, escorting out this son of Shadow Play out of the Arts Place Mirror, BJ Squall, Jack Darling
train.
George owns, along with Brad Grant of Milton, Jack Darling trains, and Jody Jameson, the winning reinsman. Last week in the elimination round with this pacing son of Shadow Play, who
always go by how impressive they
race winning streak. It's Bulldog Hanover, current 3-5 favorite. Which Way to the Beach 5, son of Some Beach Somewhere, aboard the Brett Pelling trainee for own
Bulldog looked really relaxed out there.
wins from 11 starts. And a good second in last week's elimination round. Next is 6 Desperate Man, coming out for
done. Mike's going with perfect.
15. Caretaker with Desperate Man. Trevor Henry aboard, the Kathy Chakeen trainee. Kathy owns with John Chakeen, her daughter Nikki, and her husband Paul Davies, son of Shadow Play. 1 win from 8 starts on the year, 4 to date though. A sub-150 race record on the resume of 6. Desperate Man. Trevor Henry's aboard. Simon Says Hanover, number 7, gets Scott Zeron. The son of Captain Treacherous, led out by caretaker Joel Fiquette.
You'd see something like that, but not very often up here. And I also went to Desperate Man as my second place pick. Number 1, I just think that he's an incredible horse, and number 2, unfortunately for him, he's had to face Bulldog Hanover just about all of his starts. I think at some point he might turn the tables on him, and it could potentially be tonight. He's going to have to go the race of his life. He's a fantastic
stable, along with Barbara Weinick's stable. Son of Betting Lines won 5 of 11 this year. 3rd in last week's elimination. 8, a buck bet Hanover. Here's 9, Rocky Road.
Race number 11, here it is, the $1 million Pepsi North America Cup, the race we've been all looking forward to. It's finally time. The odds board kind of speaking volumes in here in Bulldog Hanover, the 1 elimination winner, coming in riding that fantastic winning streak of 4 in a row. Match with
Connor B, his caretaker Christine.
This one, as Kenny mentioned, 10 for 10 in 2020. Thus far, notching those 4 wins and able to come through in that elimination, and has the luxury of choosing his post in here. And it's been all about Bulldog Hanover for me all year long. Been able to speak with Jody and Jack Darling on what seems to be a weekly basis with all those gold wins at some beach. Of course, the elimination win last week, and this one just continues to find ways to impress, continues to find ways to win. It just seems to be taking those big steps forward. And I'm curious to hear some of your thoughts. I know, Randy, you mentioned
on Thursday. So I got to watch the Pacers go, and I got to watch the other one go, and they all looked really good. They all looked like they were climatizing really well, and you know, they coming onto the track, they looked very calm, and that's a good sign.
How big of a mile, Randy, would they go when they're training, you know, on Thursday for this big race on Saturday night?
Surprisingly, they didn't really go much. Like, you know, it was anywhere between 220 and 215 would be my guess. I didn't have a watch on them. I stood out on the track and watched them go, and they didn't go much with them. They just kind of breezed them out a little bit there and made them pace a little bit to the wire, but not very much.
We had a great view of the horses coming onto the track, right behind us. We turned around and saw them, and you see such a professional group, right? They go through that
Very.
post parade and the pageantry of it with the coolers on,
Yes.
and all of them, just minding their manners and acting professional.
And not sweated up. And I mean, even though it's a little cool and windy tonight, it's going to be hot in the paddock, because it always is. There's not much airflow through there, and a lot of them will come out and they'll be a little bit sweated up. But none of them were. They were all as cool as can be. They're really professional bunch here.
So Bulldog Hanover right now 3-5 on the board. Now Perfect Sting now taking some money down to 3-1, and it's kind of interesting. We didn't talk about Perfect Sting earlier, and my third selection in the race, and one that I think we kind of hold it against him because he's only got 4 wins this season, but he's hit the board in all 9 of his starts. 10 for 10 as a 2-year-old, and last week did a real nice gritty effort to battle back. Horses don't usually do that. When a horse gets past like he did, usually they end up just kind of giving in, but Perfect Sting fought back, got the victory.
Yeah, I mean, he really raced well, but I go back to the fact too, though, that I think that David Miller really helped this horse last week there. I mean, when Sylvan got up alongside of him and started to draw by, a lot of drivers would have chased their horse, but he didn't. For whatever reason, he just sat there and let Sylvan get a little bit ways ahead of him, and then about halfway down the lane, he starts to get busy on him, and when he did, that horse just took off and found another gear and went very handy.
So last week elimination races, and now we're going for $1 million in the final. And you look at this field top to bottom. Do you think it might get busy in that first turn?
I would have to think that it would be. Usually this race it does come down to that, but you just never know with the racing and with the wind tonight. There, I could see Sylvan blasting out of there. I do not think that he's going to take back. And there's going to be a few of other blasters there too. The biggest question is how Jody decides to race Bulldog.
A few minutes ago, you mentioned number 8, a buck up at Hanover, and said that if he didn't draw post 8, you would have liked to have selected him somewhere pretty high.
Right.
Tell me your thoughts on that one.
I just really like the horse. I really liked him last year. I thought he was a very nice colt, and I drove his mother all tucked up, and she was also a really nice horse. Doesn't shock me in the least that he was $160,000 baby, but he's incredibly fast. And last week he really raced well. He paced home in 25-4. He just
would be a contender in this race, through most of the season.
And I'm not 100% sure, but I think last year going into the Metro, I'm pretty sure he was the favorite. That's what this horse looked like as a 2-year-old. He was the favorite in our biggest 2-year-old race, and I don't think he did any good in the final. And but other than that, his 2-year-old year was sensational, and then he was shut down early and then brought back this year, and he's won half of his starts back. So he's obviously racing really well. It's just he's in against the top of his field, and unfortunately he drew the outside.
He's had a nice shot of Bulldog Hanover just a moment ago, on the screen. Looks like he's got that bow in his neck and ready to go. So, I mean, have you kind of thought about this race, Randy, and how you think it plays out start to finish?
Yeah, like I've looked at it, you know what I mean? But it's so hard because when you get into this thing, you're dealing with a lot of guys that are very elite drivers. And the biggest thing with elite drivers is you really can't figure out what it is that they're going to do. If I had a quarter for every time that I watched Ron Pierce do something that he shouldn't have done and then watched it was the favorite. That's what this horse. And then he was shut to the outside.
He's had a nice shot.
Cup success in the past. 3-1 on next door neighbor 3 Perfect Sting. Off that 149-4 elimination win last week, he kicked. A serious group of sophomores are on the gate for the Pepsi North America Cup. They're off and pacing. Rocky Road Hanover from the outside is rolling out of there as Dunn commands him to go for and get that lead down the center. Which Way to the Beach will pocket up early, and here outside third is Bulldog Hanover. Jameson will waste no time, no dilly-dallying here. Bulldog Hanover's charging up now to challenge. Into the turn they go. Rocky Road Hanover's got the lead, but it's Bulldog Hanover stepping up alongside him and now stepping by. Back into third is Which Way to the Beach, and Perfect Sting is fourth. Fifth inside to Desperate Man, then sixth in the backfield, Jimmy Connor B. Further back we go to find Better Son, and further back towards 38th edition of the Pepsi North America Cup. Simon says Hanover, who has plummeted to last. The opening quarter is 27-3, not enormous, but they move across the backstretch and chase Bulldog Hanover, who's on a racetrack or in his elimination a week ago. It's the way he did it and where he did it from, and the manner in which he did it. Now first up, Perfect Sting fourth. Halftime, very sensible. 55 1 going into the final turn, and it's Bulldog Hanover up front by a pair. Rocky Road Hanover tripping out in the pocket spot. Perfect Sting is first up from in third now. Desperate Man is lurking second over from in fourth. What a trip. Henry's mapped out for him. Back inside from in fifth. Locked and shuffled. Which Way to the Beach? Sixth inside Jimmy Connor B. Seventh and overled is Better Son. Then it's a Buckabet Hanover. 3/4 of a mile, 122. 26-4. A big east size third quarter there, and it's Bulldog Hanover coming into the stretch. Perfect Sting from first over. Rocky Road Hanover in the pocket spot. Still there at the rail is Bulldog Hanover. Perfect Sting off cutter, Desperate Man, and it's Desperate Man pacing up late for Henry coming on. Desperate Man on the far outside. Desperate Man, there's no desperation in those strides. He's a Pepsi North America Cup winner, and he scores in 149-3. Desperate Man.
Wow. Never expected that.
All right, we are up here, Randy. What a race! I mean, honestly, that was just incredible. And Desperate Man, you know, we both like the source.
Yeah.
You know, we both said,
Both
you know,
wanted to put him in
we
on
did,
top.
we did.
Yeah.
And you know, I was, you know, even speaking with some people this morning, and I said, he's done stuff that I've never seen before in my life. And now tonight, what a drive by Trevor Henry, getting on the helmet of Dave Miller behind Perfect Sting, and that one grinded down Bulldog Hanover, and all Trevor had to do was show this one racetrack and right on by.
It was a perfect drive by Trevor, and I couldn't be happier for the connections of John and Kathy Chakeen. I've known John since I was a little boy, and you couldn't just find a nicer guy around the track, a better horseman around the track. He's just an amazing guy. Congratulations to them. I was actually a little bit shocked there. I honestly thought at the quarter pole the race was pretty well over.
Yeah,
the way that it was setting
when
up.
they flashed up the half, you and I both looked at each other and said, this race should be over.
Yes.
And then, you know, just Bulldog Hanover, you know, I think everything was done right with them. You got to get to the lead. Speed's been carrying all night. You got sensible fractions, just couldn't close it out tonight after, you know, doing it in so many spots, just, you know, couldn't finish off his mile tonight. But, you know, Desperate Man man, like you said before, he's been so close so many times.
Yes. Yeah.
And he had to be sitting on one where he's going to finally get there and get the better Bulldog Hanover. And once you know what happens in the Pepsi North America Cup for $1 million.
Going for $1 million. That's a Cinderella. That's a Cinderella story right there. If you're going to beat Bulldog Hanover, he picked the best week to do it.
And Trevor Henry, someone who, has had so much success here at Mohawk Park and dominated. I remember watching him dominate all the smaller tracks in Ontario for so many years. Has to be, just floating right now, right? Like you've won this race before. What's he feeling right now?
Euphoria. I mean, it's just you can't really explain it because it's a race that you've wanted to win. Trevor grew up in Ontario the same as me, and I mean, this is the biggest race in Ontario, biggest race in our country, and you want to win it. And then you bring it into the fact that Trevor's such great friends with the Chakins, and he just win the North American Cup for a guy that's been a journeyman in this business his entire life, in John Chakeen. And it's just, I would imagine right now, Trevor.
It's rolling out of there. Just let everybody soak up some of the sights and sounds and the emotion going on in that winner's circle. As Desperate Man has just captured the richest race in North America for 3-year-olds this year. The Pepsi North America Cup. It's our marquee race. And what a finish. There may not be a dry eye in that winner's circle, and I know for certainty there will not be a dry glass in Arthur, Ontario, possibly later this evening into the wee hours of the morning, as Desperate Man has just won the Pepsi North America Cup. 3-year-old son of Shadow Play out of the Arts Place Mirror Dreamlands Latte scores the win for the husband and wife duo of Kathy and John Chakeen. Their daughter Nikki and her husband Paul Davies celebrating the victory here tonight, and Trevor Henry mapping out a beauty of a trip for Desperate Man, who wins for the second time this year and for the 5th time in his career. Earnings skyrocketing over $850,000 as Desperate Man hauls home some serious loot and the hardware, which is being presented tonight to the winning by the Senior Vice President of Thoroughbred and Standardbred Racing for Woodbine Entertainment. Quite a crew trackside tonight. A big following. Desperate Man wins one for the little guy. And the little girls.
Track, a better horseman around the track.
Hey! Guys, we need to take a couple steps back here.
City Children said this race should be over.
Yeah.
All right, we got everyone important there. All right, guys, can you come back? All right, guys, welcome over here. Take my way.
The best week to do it.
And floating right now, right? Like how you've won the